Welcome to Water Talk with Paul the Waterman, brought to you by Water Pros. Paul the Waterman is Colorado's expert on all things related to the water we use and drink in our homes. Have you ever thought about where your water actually comes from? Is it safe to drink? Is it harmful to my health, my skin, my hair? Paul the Waterman knows water, and he has the answers. Haystack Help Radio proudly presents Water Talk. Now here's your host, Scott Watley, and owner of Water Pros, Paul the Waterman.
Old Ann and I, with throats burnt dry and souls that cry for water, water, cool water, clear water, water, water.
Welcome to Water Talk. My name is Scott Watley. We are glad you are with us. But the important person in the studio is Paul the Waterman. Paul Dowding, the owner of Water Pros, joins us today. Paul, what's happening?
We have some breaking news. We're going to announce the information that was released by the EPA's on the contaminant candidate list for April of 2026.
Contaminant
candidate list.
Candidate list.
So what this is going to prove, and how serious the conditions in the quality of our drinking water. Now, I didn't realize this, but I asked you to help out and print. This is a phone book.
44 trees are dead, but anyway, we got what we needed.
This is a phone book right here. This is contaminants that's in our drinking water. And they're on that candidate contaminant list, so they know they're there. They acknowledge that they're there, but they're not being reported.
Wow. And that's crazy when, seriously, hard to say on radio.
Folks, this is a phone book.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we had this, help me out here, Scott, because I'm going to butcher it. This new virus, what is that called?
Cont virus?
Yes, okay. We also have viruses, microbial contaminants in this new list that we'll cover. Something else, too, microplastics was added to it. Mm-hmm. But the thing that was disappointed to me, and I'm sure we'll dive into this and report on it later, instead of listing individual pharmaceutical medications like they've done in previous contaminant candidate lists, they just they're put it in one big pharmaceutical
a category
type. Yep. And so, folks, you can go to the EPA's website and you can get this for yourself, epa.gov/CCL/draft -contaminant-candidate -list -6 -CCL -6.
I tell you what, with it, if you're on social media, look up Haystack Help Radio, and I will make sure we put that link on there so you can do it. Okay.
This is something that we really want to, I guess, beat home the quality of water. Let me ask you a question. I've asked this before. How do we get the message out to folks, that says, hey, our water quality isn't safe?
I know. I did talk with Mr. Greg Lopez, who is a candidate for governor. He was on our show.
And what's his thought?
Monday. And he wants to come on with us. He knows some about it. And the main thrust has been in some of the events I've been to, if someone brings up water, it's just shortage. So we're going to try to draw that focus.
Well, drought.
Quality.
There's a drought, right?
Sure,
so we have water shortage. Water quality. A couple things. When let's do this when we talk to Mr. Lopez. Let's inform him. What we found out. A month or two ago, that all the aquifers, the Denver, the Dawson, the Lower Dawson, Upper Dawson, where this is like ancient water because it's something that was put in the ground millions of years ago, but it doesn't replenish from groundwater. Mm-hmm. So what that means is eventually, in theory, those aquifers could be running dry right now. What happens if they do run dry? What are we going to do?
I know.
The Colorado River, Lake Mead, Lake Powell, they're all, satellite images as they've been, water usage is going away. water usage isn't going away. Natural water resources are going away. However, what this tells you is that the plan, I don't think they care about that because they know it's all going to go back to reusable water. Mm-hmm. That's where we're going to.
And there is plenty of that.
Right? So that, in the list of the updated 2026 list, they have bacteria. And then there's also viruses. There's protozoas. There's a calcia virus. I'll spell that CALICIV virus, calcia virus. So if that's in our drinking water, Scott, then that's something that, also it's safe to say, and I said this before, viruses, you get a stomach virus, you're drinking a glass of water. Mm-hmm. COVID, I'm convinced COVID was spread by the drinking water. So this new virus that's out there now, is that the same thing? And how's it spread, through the drinking water is because someone who has the virus, right, they use the bathroom, flush the toilet, it's in your water supply. That's how it happens. That's how pharmaceutical contamination. That's how microplastics. This is the first time that microplastics have been around for, we've known about them for 3 years, and now this is the first year that they're on the, the contaminant candidate list. Mm-hmm. But so they know they're there, but they're not going to report it. Well, but we have to rely on news outlets to, who've done a good job about microplastics. And then we played that interview or press conference with HHS Secretary Kennedy.
Right.
Said that they're going to put up, $144 million?
$44 million, yeah.
That's nothing, government money. I wonder how much of that is really going to go to, how much does the federal government cost the federal government to make a report like this?
Oh, yeah. It'll be millions and millions and millions. Yeah.
So I think two things everybody needs to really think about is get your own point of use reverse osmosis system, get your water tested, give us a call because hard water affects reverse osmosis. We have that tankless reverse osmosis system so you can have up to 600 gallons of drinking water a day. Everybody should also think about putting a whole house point of use ultraviolet light filtration system in their home to zap these viruses and bacteria because this is a real deal. I have a thought, and knock on wood here, but Colleen and I, we really didn't have experienced a flu. I mean, this was supposed to be a good flu season, right? Mm-hmm. People got sick, but I never really. And is that because when we drink water at home and we use it for cooking, and I use it for my sugar-free Kool-Aid, does the reverse osmosis with the ultraviolet light, does that what helped us?
It has not hurt you.
Right.
We know that.
What about you? Have you had a cold?
No. I mean, I haven't, And, of course, we've got the water softener with you and the point-of-use RO system. And
the RO unit's small enough at 0.0001 micron that it can trap viruses. But everybody should think about that.
Let's touch on that system again that we brought up a couple of weeks ago. And you just mentioned it, but I do want to bring that up again because I think that is a perfect unit. Again, we talked about for apartments, for condos, if you're renting somewhere and maybe they don't want you to manipulate their sink or whatever, and RV homes. And this is perfect in campers for that.
Listen, this tankless reverse osmosis, Scott's a game changer because you can connect it to the water line coming in, then the water line coming in goes directly to the system, then from the system goes directly to your main kitchen faucet. Mm-hmm. So you have reverse osmosis water coming out of the kitchen sink. So that means folks that are renting, one of the things that property managers don't want is you doing any kind of modification at the kitchen sink. They don't want you drilling a separate hole. They don't want a separate faucet. They want no changes. So this allows you to have a filtration system without any changes.
Mm-hmm. And
plumbing modifications.
Can we still do our special?
$1,800.
$1,800. Normally $2,400.
Yep. And
that is installed.
So now we're going to put a timeline on this. So now through Memorial Day.
Okay.
Now through Memorial Day, because you got to get it ordered. Before Memorial Day, because that price is going to go away.
All right.
The Ebenezer Scrooge in me, Scott, says, man, no, $1,800, no way. No. So,
All
right. So Memorial Day.
So call 303-862-5554
and order's yours today.
And get it today. So, and wait, there's more.
Right.
There's a free in-home water test.
And you get to meet me, Paul the Waterman.
Again, if it's your first time to join us, welcome. We're here every week at this time. And, if you listen to the show a lot, I know sometimes it really gets technical with a lot of the different things. But number one, we want to show you that we've done our research on this. And everything that we talk about, and I mean since day one, over 4 years ago now,
Right.
You can find on EPA websites, different websites that are out there. So this isn't just something we make up to, scare tactic, try to get you to buy some water filtration system. This is legitimate health concerns for every man, woman, and child, Paul.
Well, let me tell you the most dangerous thing, and this is Charlie. Like, do you have like this red alert button? This like, this is very serious. Okay, they have DPBs listed in the contaminant candidate list. Do you know what DPBs are? They are disinfection byproducts. So here's the red alert. I like to say, Scott, you're being poisoned right now because how they disinfect the water. The chlorine, the chloramine, the disinfectant products that they use to keep the water safe. Meaning, now here's something else to think about. They don't kill bacteria and viruses. These chemical compounds basically cause the virus structure to affect its DNA so it doesn't multiply. So it's not like they're being zapped and instantly killed. They don't reproduce. However, it's common sense that this chlorination process, there's some viruses and bacteria that are becoming immune to the disinfection. That's why there's viruses and bacteria on this contaminant candidate list. So we have to think, common sense isn't so common anymore. If you have bacteria and viruses that are on the EPA's version 6 of this contaminant candidate list, that tells you that the chlorine, the disinfection product, isn't killing it, isn't neutralizing it. Okay, so it escapes. However, those products that are used to disinfect your water are cancer-causing agents. And now, for the first time, they are listed in this critical, I call it critical, the contaminant candidate list.
Right.
Because here's the thing let me ask you this question. Why isn't this on the evening news? Why isn't, right? Why isn't this on any kind of, do they print newspapers anymore? Or are they just all?
I don't know.
So, what, I mean, how come this isn't, it should be more widespread.
Sure, yeah. We should be hearing more about it.
So so what that means is that if you take a glass of water and you're smelling the chlorine content, that's high chlorine, that's basically like drinking swimming pool water, that can cause cancer. We did a report, I read a report. I don't think we shared this yet in this news show, thinking about it, Scott. There's a quarterback that played for South Carolina Gamecocks. He was 34 years old. He has colon rectal cancer. So I did some research and I typed in, an AI, 4 different search engines. I think I shared this with you. Can you get colorectal cancer from drinking water? And the answer is absolutely yes. Trimethanes. So the question is, colorectal cancer is affecting young men at younger ages now. And we had that Hollywood actor that was in Dawson Creek and in that movie Varsity Blues, I forget his name. He recently died of colorectal cancer, stage 4. Well, this young man, he's 34 years old, and he has stage 4 colorectal cancer. And the question is it from the drinking water? I think yes. Mm-hmm. And so, every glass of water you have right now, is playing a part in, colorectal cancer.
And every doctor you go to, if you go for your annual physical or whatever, what will they tell you to do? Drink more water.
When you go through, if you have to do, I mentioned this too, if you have to do like nasal rinses, the first thing they tell you is don't use tap water. And there's a listener called the office, and he said, check out called on Tuesday to our show, said, check in Yahoo, look up the USA Today brain-eating amoebas. And so brain-eating amoebas are in the water all over, national parks. So people go swimming, you've got to be careful. But brain-eating amoebas also, when people in their tap water from Texas and Florida, use those nasal rinses, and they got a brain-eating amoeba because they use regular tap water to do so, and they died. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is serious stuff.
Man. Paul Dowding is with us. We just call him Paul the Waterman. He is the owner of Water Pros. Once again, their number 303-862-5554. Paul does offer a free in-home water test, and again, no gimmicks and secret briefcases are brought in, and no fluids are put in your water to make it turn colors, anything like that. He will simply use a few products in your own home to show you what's happening in your water. And that's absolutely free of charge. Again, 303-862-5554. Tell you what, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Here's why you need personal injury attorney Kevin Flesh on your side. He understands the way the jury thinks. In the context of a personal injury case, you've been hurt by someone else's negligence. The idea is that you're going to try to recover so that you can get back to where you were just prior to that incident occurring. What that really means from a jurist perspective is that you're going to be asking them to award you money. So when we talk about fairness, we're talking about 6 people that you don't know. Those 6 people view the evidence and make a unanimous decision that will decide what the fair value is. When you're the one who's hurt, you have a good idea of what you think it's worth. The question is, can you persuade those other individuals whom you don't know and were witnesses to believe that's what the case is worth? Kevin Flesh understands the way the jury thinks. Call now for a free consultation, 303-806-8886.
This is KLZ 560, God, Country, Colorado.
Welcome back to Water Talk. My name is Scott Watley. We have Paul the Waterman in studio with us. If you're just joining us, we are going through a lot of information here today. Paul has pulled up some great information. There's a contaminant list, and Paul, what was the actual name of your contaminant list? A candidate
contaminant list.
List.
This is number 6. The EPA has. So this is the 6th version. You can go back and look through the EPA's website. They allow you to access 1 through 6. This is a new one. This is not finalized yet. It'll be finalized in June. This is open for public debate, public response. But what's important about this is identifies 75 individual chemicals. So no wonder it was a phone book that you printed out. 75 individual chemicals that are in the water supply. Before we had to go to a break and I had serious business here, we have disinfectant byproducts we were talking about that are in the water supply that are cancer-causing agents right now. And so this is outside of all the other stuff. They got microplastic, PFAS, of course, and pharmaceuticals. Then in this contaminant list, why is that so hard for
you? I know.
It
is for me too. That's why I asked you.
There's 9 microbes. So that's bacteria and viruses that are in the living bacteria and viruses that are in the water supply. Why is that important? Because that means that they're living through the chlorine disinfection. So you got a disinfection byproducts that are causing cancer. I mean, that's just a fact. Not to scare anybody, but trihalomethanes is the big one. That's because of the chlorination process mixed with organics in the water. So I'm going to say right now, is the water safe to drink? No, it's not. I'm not trying to be alarming, but it's factual. And if everybody at home, you can do your own research and see this for yourself.
Right.
When we first started this show, you and I had no idea about the contaminant candidate list.
Correct.
Now there's 6 versions of it. So because we do research for this show and try to make people aware, and every time we find something out brand spanking new, we find out that it's been in our water for, years.
Which is scary.
The pharmaceutical groups cover substance in their water supply. This is from the EPA. The pharmaceutical groups cover substances that meet definition of a drug under the Federal Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act. EPA is using the group listing to prioritize research on occurrences in drinking water and the potential public health concerns without immediate regulatory decision for the entire group. That's a huge statement right there. So that basically they are admitting that there's drugs in our drinking water. Mm-hmm. We know there's Prozac in the drinking water because Prozac is also made with a forever chemical. We know that there's antibiotics in the drinking water. We also interviewed a person that engineers water reservoirs who told us that they do water testing, and every single over-the-counter medication was testing in the drinking water. So this is proof positive that this is there.
When you talk about a chlorination process, and we think of chlorine, most of us just reflect to that smell we get got in swimming pools as a kid. But is chlorine got a lot of other products in it?
Chlorine can convert to a gas. So chlorine is used to clean the drinking water. It's a disinfectant that it says kills germs, bacteria, viruses, and parasites to make water safe to drink. However, it changes the DNA, and so they don't multiply. So chlorine gas, sodium hypochlorite, which is liquid bleach, or calcium hypochlorite, is forming an hyperchlorous acid.
Think about what we just said. This is what they're putting in
the hyperchloric ions in water. It also forms disinfectants called chloramines when you combine with ammonia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yum.
This is stuff that's causing
cancer. Go get
cancer.
A glass of water,
right.
folks.
This is the disinfection byproducts that are causing cancer in our water right now. We're only going to cover just the tip of the iceberg, and this is enough information, that'll last us all summer talking about it. They say this is a draft of the CCL. So CCL, folks, it stands for Contaminant Candidate List. But to be very, truthful, that's a tongue twister for me, and I dare anybody out there that's listening to it, say this real fast. Contaminant Candidate List, you can't do it. Okay? Contaminant Candidate, no. So CCL, Contaminant Candidate List. The draft of the CCL is open for public comment, the period likely ending around June 2026, and the final version may refine details. And what I mean refine details, I'm sure they're going to say, okay, what's the maximum contamination level that would be acceptable? For a full list of the individual chemicals and group definitions, you see the EPA's draft CCL 6 pages in the Federal Register notice. So, hang on here, Mr.
And it showed
Scott.
on there were 75 individual chemicals, 4 chemical groups, which is disinfection byproducts, DBPs.
That's disinfection byproduct.
Yep. Microplastics, PFAs, and pharmaceuticals, and 9 microbes.
Bacterias.
Yeah, so a
And
lot
viruses.
going on.
So the Federal Register, this is date back to February 17th, 2023, basically is a guideline to how the EPA, comes with these formulations and reports and how they put everything together. I think the more important thing is if we look at the 6 microbial contaminants. So you have 1, 2, 3 protozoas. Look up protozoas real quick. Those are like aren't they like in the amoeba family?
I'll look it up.
Keep
going.
We have 1 virus, that calcium virus, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bacterias. Now, a big bacteria is a pathogenic waterborne mycobacteria group, which includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different bacterias. Wow. Seriously. So why this is important, folks, because if it's in the contaminant candidate list, it's in the water supply, that means that the chlorination process that we just described to you is not killing the bug, would you find?
Mm-hmm. Protozoa are microscopic single-cell organisms that are either free-living or parasite, classified as eukaryotes with a nucleus and organelles, and move using structures like flagella, cilia, and pseudopods.
See, okay. You know what else that tells me? They can enter our body through microplastics.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Microplastics. So microplastics are now part of the EPA's candidate list. I'm just going to see CCLs from now on.
Examples and diseases in amoeba, which can cause diarrheal diseases, paramecium, a common free-living ciliate found in fresh water, Plasmodium, the parasite that causes malaria, Giardia causes giardiasis, a common intestinal infection, and Trypanosoma causes African sleeping sickness. Wow. I don't know what that would be, but a lot going on in our water.
Isn't it not overwhelming that these are information that it's so if the public, if they publish this and any news outlet took this information and ran with it, I think we'd have people, would be up in arms. What do you think Gabe Evans would if this information right here, what do you think Gabe Evans would do?
Well, most folks aren't going to take the time to look. I mean, this takes quite a bit of looking into.
So studying. So, but it's right here.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, do you think, seriously, think about this on a side note. What if we had a candidate running for governor that went out there and started saying, our water is not safe to drink?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. He'd be the only one that says it.
Yeah.
And then where are you going to get this information from? The first thing, people would beat it down as what's the phrase, when someone tries to blow something out of proportion? Conspiracy theory?
Yeah, conspiracy theory.
Right, okay. But then the EPA's facts are right here.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, I mean, what would it do for his candidacy if we had a candidate for governor that he'd be the only one to do it, that would step out there and say, based on this information right here, I mean, don't you think it should be done?
Oh, sure. And like I say, Mr. Greg Lopez has told me he's going to look into it with us.
Get him on the show.
Yeah, we are. It's your show. You and Buddy. No, we will.
Charlie, give him a call.
Greg's a good friend of ours.
Yeah, give him a call. Charlie will call him.
And here's the main thing. I think there's so much going on in the world, This is the last thing on people's mind. But I think we would all have to agree, man, I've certainly seen it over the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years. Cancer is certainly on the rise at all ages.
Well, all types of cancer, kidney cancer, testicular cancer, colorectal cancer we talked about, lung cancer. Well, in lung cancer, these disinfectant byproducts, here's something else people don't realize. You breathe them in every time you take a shower.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people pay extra to have like a steam shower.
Where
they sit in there for 20 minutes and breathe it. Yeah.
So everybody needs the matrix system.
Okay. Let's go through a few products.
So, okay, folks, we identified a couple of problems here. First problem we identified that's a major concern is the DBPs, disinfection byproducts, part of the contaminant candidate list. Well, that is a cancer-causing because it's a chlorination, part of the chlorine ammonia, we just read that, is used to sanitize the water. The disinfection byproducts mixed with organics in the water create one of the big ones is trihalomethanes and dioxins. So those can form into steam, converted to steam through steam showers, and then when you're taking a hot shower, it's in the hot water heater. It doesn't dissipate. Mm-hmm. If you're in an area that has a chloramine is there for a reason. It increases the contact time in the water supply. And the longer the contact time, then that basically will zap those bugs. However, what we also found out is that there are addition of 9 microbes that are in this contaminant candidate list that's in the water supply. That means that the chlorine and the chloramine are not killing them. Okay. We know that viruses in the water supply. We know that viruses, the stomach flu virus, that several viruses are in the water supply that create gastrointestinal disease. So not only can you ingest these by drinking the water, but you can breathe these in, okay, when you take a shower. So the Matrix whole house filtration system will take care of the hardness, but it'll also take care of the total chlorine content, the forever chemicals, which is the PFOs, PFAs, zaps any heavy metals, but the KDF55 that's part of the filtration system, bacteria and viruses don't multiply. They come in contact with that, and if they're staying, they don't pass through. The KDF55 basically causes those to die out because it affects their, reproduction process. That's the KDF55 with the activated carbon. Then, you have an ultraviolet light that basically is that extra insurance policy that can zap anything that, that else that's in the water that could get through the whole house matrix system. So the matrix system is a conditioner that will soften the water, treat the drinking water. And, I'm reading this, Scott, and you and your family definitely need to think about, upgrading a little bit to get rid of these disinfectant byproducts of the water supply. You're not drinking them, but
right.
because of the reverse osmosis. But when you're taking a shower, it's there. And not to be alarming, but I said this earlier in the show, is water safe to drink? With everything we're seeing right here, is your water safe to drink? And I'm going to say no, because of when you have a contaminant candidate list, they're admitting that these contaminants are in the water supply. They're letting the public know, not through news organizations. They're letting the public know so you could basically do your own research. They're putting it on the EPA's website.
So let's talk about where you start. You ring a doorbell, somebody calls you to come out. Assume you just start out, first of all, with the water test, correct? Okay. Once you find out the hardness of the water, what are the next steps that you go through?
Well, we do the total chlorine test, okay? And so we show them, and then at that point...
And how much does that differ across the city? I mean, a lot?
It's a good question. It does a lot. Highlands Ranch chlorine, I had identified in your neck of the woods, Scott, you got like 4 different water zones in Highlands Ranch. Their water quality is different. You can have water quality, 9 grains per gallon, to 15 grains per gallon, which is, it's really hard water. And the backcountry has high, hardness and chlorine content. And there's parts of Highlands Ranch, I call the older part of Highlands Ranch, gets closer to Santa Fe.
Right.
Okay. That, has high chlorine content. I remember when Highlands Ranch was first being developed back in the 90s, and, Douglas County was one of the fastest growing counties in the United States.
I moved here in 93, and, man, it's vastly changed.
It has, yeah. And so back then, when you brand new neighborhood there, that's when, before the GPS and your smartphones, you were taking that big Randy McNally map and looking at the neighborhoods and trying to get to somebody's house, and there was roads in the map that, weren't completed yet. And so, that was challenging. But, it's hard water and it's high chlorine content. And the high chlorine content, Castle Rock, think about this. Folks that live in Castle Rock, if you smell chlorine content, it's alarming, but they're doing it for a reason. And if you smell it,
and they do, we did a whole show on it.
People are complaining.
Ago.
You said, you were following a social media site where people are complaining about the chlorine content, the smell, or getting sick. That's what happens in the water supply. But that's a disinfectant byproduct that can cause cancer. It's a fact. That's why I say it's not safe to drink. Everybody needs to have water filtration. Minimum of reverse osmosis. I mean, $1,800 for a tankless reverse osmosis installed. That's the minimum you should do. And then you can always add a water softener down the road. You can always add a water conditioner down the road. But then you have to think about, if you're bathing in something that affects everyday health, if you're drinking something that it's everyday health, water is life. So what do? We bathe in it, we cook in it, we do our laundry. So then all our food prep is water. I mean, that's just how it is.
Sure. Now, if they don't do a water softener and they have 15 grains of water hardness, filters are going to be used more often, correct?
Correct. Reverse osmosis filters will have to be replaced once a year. So the water softener does 3 things. It helps the filters filter more and last longer. It eliminates the cleaning products that we use to clean up after hard water. And it helps our water resources, because in laundry soap and shampoos, there's a carcinogen called 1,4-dioxin.
Okay.
And that's been in our water for over 100 years. But it's a carcinogen because it's still in the soaps and shampoos that we use.
Do you ever see, putting on your forecasting glasses, do you ever see the book that we printed out today about these contaminants? Do you think they'll ever be published? Or,
so here's the thing. That's a great question. So the EPA rules, what's published in your quarterly water report, and I'm going to challenge everybody out there that runs, if you're listening to this show and you're running if you're in Castle Rock, Denver, Aurora, Parker, and you're running a municipal water, district, I want you to be truthful and let everybody know that when you send out that quarterly water report, don't give them a false sense that, oh, my water's safe. Your water's perfectly safe, because you're lying to them. Because when you know that the EPA has a contaminant candidate list, and then we also know, Scott, that the EPA has unregulated contaminants in the drinking water. So that's something different. Contaminant candidate list and then unregulated contaminants. That's basically two separate sources. Mm-hmm. So once you have a contaminant candidate list, then does it graduate and go to the unregulated contaminant because it needs further testing? We know that Gen X chemical is a forever chemical. It's a toxin. It's bioaccumulate, but it's in the unregulated contaminant list. And how many PFAS did you and I find? What, 156 or 57,000
right. And
different?
now that's been a while.
Right.
So we'll probably have to check that back out.
So I have a question. Okay, this is for you, Mr. Watley, and with all your years of wisdom. Do you really think that this information that's out there, and I'll put it back on you, do you really think that, a cancer, that if the cancer agent in water supply, they find a cancer-causing agent and it's in a water supply, do you really think that they would publish that?
Probably not. I mean, because, man, hysteria would set in.
But see, I think we should have hysteria right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, as people listen to the show, hopefully they understand that, again, hey, are we here to promote Water Pros? Yes. Are we here to sell some products? Yes. But, folks, I'm telling you, we've had cardiologists on. We've had people that have no, doesn't really matter to them. Of course, they drink the same water. But we've had a gentleman, as Paul mentioned earlier, that works a lot with reservoirs here in the state, and told us about all the chemicals the pharmaceuticals in the water. So this is a health factor at this point. And then I think in the months and years to come, we're probably going to be shocked at how much of a health factor and how much it did actually put us in bad situations with our health, Paul.
We have ibuprofen in our drinking water, Scott. Ibuprofen is in our drinking water. Something that made the contaminant candidate list is manganese. Manganese is common in well water in Colorado, so certain levels of manganese absolutely is harmful, especially for newborn babies. There is also the chloromethane made it in the list. Benzene, and then something else that made it in the list is, here we are, is the 1,4-dioxin. Mm-hmm. And it's something and that's what I don't understand. When it's a known contaminant that it's been around for so long, how can they tell us that it still has to be determined? See, that's an oxy. So they're talking out of both sides. Right. It's like if 1,4-dioxin is known to be a carcinogen, that knows it's a cancer-causing agent. It's been in our water supply forever. They used in soaps and shampoos, and yet it's still there, and they're not doing anything to mitigate it. And here's another question: with all these microplastics that are in our water supply, how many of these carcinogens and bacteria and viruses are being carried into the body through microplastics? Mm-hmm.
Hard to know.
Right.
But, folks, you can help yourself today. Call Water Pros now, 303-862-5554. Mention you heard Paul here on KLZ 560. Free in-home water test. And then, Paul, let's hit one more time the new product.
Our tankless reverse osmosis system. Tankless RO, 600 gallons of drinking water a day. You know what that's going to do? That's going to help you with the quality of your water. It's going to help with the total chlorine content, the disinfectant byproducts that are in the water supply, the pharmaceuticals in the water supply. So make sure the water that you're drinking and cooking with is 99.999% pure H2O.
All right. 303-862-5554. This is Water Talk. We'll be right back.
Turn a normal day into an adventure on an e-bike. Hi, I'm Randy Caranci, founder of E-Bike of Colorado. E-bikes are a fun way to ride around town. Just try it. Pedal assist technology flattens the steepest hills. We have 14 major brands to choose from, and our expert staff will find you the perfect bike. Come take a free test ride at E-Bike of Colorado in downtown Louisville next to the historic grain elevator. Open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Learn more at ebikeofcolorado.com. Just try it.
You're listening to KLZ 560 AM, your home station.
Welcome back to Water Talk. If you're just joining us, my name is Scott Watley. Hey, we are back with Paul the Waterman. I know there's been a whole lot of big, long words that you don't understand. And you know what? We have to look them up sometimes live on air because we've got a lot of information in front of us. But here's the main thing to simplify it. A lot going on in our water. Like Paul talked about this contaminant candidate list. 75 individual chemicals. There's 4 chemical groups. There's 9 microbes. A lot going on in our drinking water. And again, you can get this information, Paul. What was that from the EPA website? What we printed out?
The EPA basically just type in, go to the EPA CCL6,
Okay.
and you'll get that.
Yeah, and you'll get it. All right. And it's a lot of information. You'll see, though, that we are telling you the truth here on Water Talk. Okay, so you come in, you do the free water test, you test the chlorine and all, and then how do you go about deciding what products for what size home, family members? And is that a few of the things you look at when you're trying to figure out what products for them?
So to be very candid with you, Mr. Watley, based upon this show that you and I are doing today and thinking about, everything that we've talked about during our commercial break, I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to strongly recommend and going forward, everybody should think about a whole house system with a water softener, ultraviolet light filtration for the whole house, supported by the point of use for reverse osmosis drinking water. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm saying that is that one of the main chemical contaminants on the 79 individual contaminants that made the contaminant candidate list, one of them is called 1,2,3-trichloropropane. And basically, it's an industrial solvent. It's man-made. It's called chlorinated hydrocarbon, and that is doesn't occur naturally in the environment. And it's used in industrial solvents and cleaning, degreasing agents. So anything that's degreased that we use, to spray to get rid of cooking grease is okay. But here's the thing that I was just reading in the health effects. This is a carcinogen to humans based on animal studies, which that kind of makes me sad, right? The animal testing shows tumors in multiple organs, liver, kidney, and stomach. So, that's in our drinking water. And mm-hmm. So, how many people, I've had a family member that recently passed away, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, stomach cancer. We talked about colorectal cancer. So based on all this stuff, and this is something that's in the water right now, and that's why I said water's not safe to drink. So, I think we need to throw the rules out. Before it's just, you have hard water, water softener, okay. And I think we're being untruthful if we let the public believe that your water's safe to drink, because based on what we have right here, and this is the tip of the iceberg. We're going to have more information. I think your home, the water softener protects water filtration. So hard water covers, because reverse osmosis, Scott, is nanofiltration. It's at 0.001 micron. Calcium, because the water flows through the RO system, calcium can oxidize and build up. And the analogy I'll give you, if you've gone to a friend's house that has a refrigerator with a water dispenser and the ice maker, and you see all the calcium deposits on that refrigerator, mm-hmm. Ice maker and water dispenser, that shows you that hard water is eating up that filter inside the fridge. Okay, so you have a water softener, get rid of the hardness like you do. So now your reverse osmosis that you have is fed soft water, so then the membrane can focus on all these chemical contaminations. And 2 people in the home really don't drink, use a lot of water, maybe 20 gallons at most, but I think realistically, maybe you go through 2, 3 gallons of drinking water a day. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Yeah. But your filters can last several years supported by a water softener because of that. But now I'm thinking, with everything that we're seeing that's in the water and the fact that disinfectant byproducts are cancer-causing agents and can cause colorectal cancer, I'm convinced of it. Now we have to think about whole house carbon filtration. That's why we think about the matrix, but then the UV to zap the viruses, because they also told us, Scott, that you have 9 microbes that are in this list. So that means they pass through chlorination. So, let's beat the drum and repeat this. Is your water safe to drink? No. Why? Because of what we have today from the EPA's Contaminant Candidate List version 6 that was released in April 2026. The final version they're hoping to release by the end of June in 2026 has 75 individual chemicals, 4 chemical groups, and the disinfection byproducts. Now, we covered that when before, the disinfectant byproducts, and there was 4 of them. One of them was bromate, but the most important one was trihalomethanes. Mm-hmm. And that was also from the EPA. Everything that we are going over today, you can get yourself on the EPA's website. Yeah. So you can see.
Sure.
Only thing we're doing is taking published information and just, letting the people know that this is not safe.
Right. And people are going to say, well, isn't this just small traces of this stuff? Probably, but we don't know. But trace after trace after trace after trace for 20 years. What does that give you?
I've always said this. That's a great thing you brought up, because it doesn't take a huge contaminant to have a problem. Mm-hmm. Case in point, what did the EPA start out with these forever chemicals? The EPA said 1 part per billion was the limit. Okay, so what did we find out, Scott? We found out that 1 part per billion was 1 drop of the contaminant in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's enough to basically, the EPA says that's too much, that's bad. So then they went from 1 part per billion down to 4 part per trillion. What's that? I mean, that's small. But then from 4 part per trillion, they came back and said, no, wait a minute, nothing. So the forever chemicals is a bioaccumulation contaminant that's been happening for over 57 years.
Right.
And that's in our water supply. In Minnesota, Scott, we did a story in Minnesota. There was an attorney general that basically wanted to expose with the state EPA, the state's Environmental Protection Wildlife Agent. They wanted to expose the PFAS that were in fish. They did a fish sample. Fish had more PFAS than blood. But then the person in the government that worked for 3M, mm-hmm. okay, basically prevented that from being released to the public.
And that's where I think we're going to. Man, we can't release that.
No.
And that's why I think we don't get these water quality reports that we've always talked about.
I haven't seen.
Municipalities are supposed to give you, right?
Well, that's why I'm challenging. I said it a little bit ago. I challenge anybody that works, listens to this radio show, and if you work and you publish a water quality report, I want you to, look in the mirror and be honest with yourself, and then be honest with your consumer. Don't tell somebody, oh, this water's safe to drink, because it's not. It's a big lie. It's a big lie because of the disinfectant byproducts. Everybody should listen. If you went out there and said, we recommend everybody get a water filtration system for your home. Part of the reason why they wouldn't do that is because there's going to be some companies out there, they're going to want to start charging $30,000 for filters, mm-hmm. right? They're going to have the Rahm Emanuel effect. Don't let a crisis go to waste. So, is that part of it? Because, there's companies right now, and it drives me crazy, selling 50-year-old technology for $8,000.
Right.
For $8,000. The bigger boys out there, that do heating, HVAC, electrical, right, all in one, they're trying to get $15,000 for, old crappy water treatment technology. And I say that because that's what scares people away from filtering the water. Then they go online, and anything online, is made from China. There's an article that, our friend Mark Whitlatch?
Sure.
Okay. He bought a faucet, true story, from Home Depot. Okay. Home Depot, from Amazon. Amazon sent him an alert that the faucet was made from China and got recalled because of lead. He went to Home Depot and found a replacement. But he bought a faucet from Amazon, and then he got the alert that said that, that this faucet came from China, made in China, got recalled because of lead. The Chinese don't care.
Right.
And I think the Chinese are going to sell anything they can to us. They want to poison us. We're their enemy.
Sure. So, for all our folks that listen, and we have a lot, and live out in the rural areas, and they've got well water, how much of our conversation today affects well water users?
So, to be very candid with you, everything, because water is what? Reusable. Water's the hydrological cycle is what I mean by saying reusable. So anything that's in a municipal water supply, okay, that then gets dumped back to the Platte River or to any of these reservoirs, and then Mother Nature absorbs that moisture and then turns it into rainwater, and the rainwater then basically, helps fill up, their groundwater well. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of folks that have shallow wells, and there's other folks that are in the deep, deep aquifers. But there's municipalities that take their wastewater and dump it, inject it into these deep, deep aquifers. So in some cases, they could have high PFAS content, definitely have microplastics issues. They could have everybody almost out in the well water has some form of coliform bacteria. Right. So, folks in well water can have a false sense of security. Everybody should have reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light filtration, and point-of-use drinking water.
We'll come up with after this one expires that we're running now, Memorial Day a special. Let's come up with something.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll come up with a complete package system price. We got to, water quality is the most important thing. The matrix whole house filtration system, ideal. If you're in well water, you definitely want to think about a dual tank water softener. Definitely want to have a point of use reverse osmosis. But in between those two, you think about the whole house ultraviolet light to zap the bacteria and viruses.
I was thinking the other day, it's probably been 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was a big truck that caught on fire over in Santa Fe. I believe it was next to a U-Haul center over there. And I got to thinking about all the firefighting foam and different things that they use that went right down the street jet drains and all the different things there. I mean, that's got to have an effect, right?
Well, absolutely. There's something else here. So the EPA basically had, contaminant list, critical contaminant lists 3 through 5 included some specific pharmaceuticals related to, individuals such as estrogen and hormones. But now they put this in a broad group, and it's not dedicated. It's not a dedicated pharmaceutical group. So I bring this up because I think people should get involved in pay. And I'm going to comment on this, Scott, because it's open to the public to January to June. But the public should, you should want to know. Give me the individual pharmaceuticals that are in my, contaminant, in my water. So we know that there's antibiotics. We know that, there's Prozac. From, the contaminant candidate list number 5 listed them, and we talked about them. And we know that there's Prozac in there, and Prozac's in one of them because Prozac is a pharmaceutical that's made by a forever chemical. Mm-hmm. Make a note. That's another thing we should do is, type in, go to your AI search engine and type in forever chemicals manufactured, used in pharmaceuticals and see for yourself. You know how people have, when you used to get hip replacements, knee replacements, one of the things you had to take was medication so your body wouldn't reject it. But so, they found a way to that's not a big issue anymore, is because it's coated with forever chemical.
Right. Paul the Waterman is offering a great special now on this tankless RO. It is installed for $1,800. All you have to do is call the office, 303-862-5554. Take control of your water. Hey, you're the only one that can do it. I promise you, your municipality or your well folk systems, your well systems, they're not going to do it for you, but this is a chance you can have Paul come out. Again, do the free in-home water test, see what's going on with your individual water, and then see what solutions Water Pros have for you. And Paul, we do want to mention, you mentioned Mark, our friend, bought something in China. That's not what they're getting when they buy products from Water Pros.
Everything's 100% made in the USA. Let me just, how much time we have left?
About 5 or 6 minutes.
All right, so let me just end this. The EPA simultaneously released human health benchmarks for 374 pharmaceuticals as a screening tool for states, tribes, and water systems, tribes meaning tribal, areas, water systems to assess risks from drug residues, okay, antidepressants, hormones, antibiotics. So we've already mentioned that. So these benchmarks are non-enforceable, but provide guidance for future, possible, rules. So let me say that again. They just admitted right here, the EPA has released human health benchmarks for 374 pharmaceuticals that's clearly in our water supply. 374. Now, they're being tested. So I know for a fact that Fort Collins, their water treatment plant participates in the monitoring of these critical contamination lists and unregulated contaminant lists for the EPA and reports back to them. So when they said there's 374 pharmaceuticals, I started stating pharmaceuticals in the water supply based on good old-fashioned common sense, and based upon people that we've interviewed and told us that, every major over-the-counter medication. Something else you have to think about real quick. This is a global problem, worldwide problem, because what other countries don't regulate and what other medications are being dumped. We know that it's a huge issue because what we find about dolphins or sharks, they have, pharmaceuticals contamination they found. Okay, so when you have 374 pharmaceuticals that are, contaminating our drinking water and, antidepressants, hormones, and antibiotics, and is that playing a part to antibiotic resistant, bacteria that we're having? Viruses, you don't treat you with an antibiotic, and so your body pretty much has to fight that itself. But if your water that you're drinking affects your immune system, then a virus is going to mess with you even longer. And I'm convinced now more than ever that viruses, because we know this is a fact, because we have 9 microbes that are, part of this list, that, we get stomach virus from drinking water. We get COVID from the drinking water. You get, the cold virus from the drinking water. Mm-hmm. And out of these 9 microbes, we had virus. One of them was that updated to this was the calcia virus. And then again, we had 4 bacteria, 5 bacteria. And then one of the bacteria on this list had 9 different other bacteria as part of that family, just put it in one big group. So, technically, I guess you could say there's 18 different, microbes in the water that's right now that the chlorination isn't treating. So in recap, we have disinfectant byproducts that cause cancer. That's in our water supply. So because of that, that's why I say our water's not safe to drink. Then we have this contaminant candidate list. There's the EPA's unregulated contaminant list. It goes on and it doesn't stop. So right now, from, the rest of this summer, I'm going to dedicate breaking down this list, these 100 over 100 different contaminants, but 75 brand new individual chemical contaminants. So that, and with these disinfectant byproducts, and let's do some more research to figure out the types of cancer that these disinfectant byproducts can have. We already mentioned the colon rectal cancer, and then this one, one of the top ones I did research on, that's trichloropropane. It's called 1,2,3-trichloropropane, TCP, and the health effects is showing tumors in organs, multiple organs like liver, kidney, and stomach, etc. Oral cancer. Mm-hmm. So, is the water safe? No. Is it up to us? Yes. And then a couple weeks ago, I hate to see what happens to municipalities. This mobile home park law that we talked about a couple weeks ago, the water quality, if a municipality has to adopt the same rules that the mobile home park, they won't be able to do it. It can't happen. So then, what's the future of the quality of our drinking water? And are they going to take a realistic approach? And, are they going to, there's some laws that I totally agree with and some I think should be rescinded because it's just not practical.
Mm-hmm. 2 minutes left. Any red flags you can give for people? Because I assume people shop. They may have you out. They may have another company. Just compare or see what each other says. Any other red flags you can say, hey, be careful. If somebody knocks on your door and just offer you a system and say, I'm just making up something. Hey, this is a system you need, and they've done nothing. What would be some red flags people could look for?
Well, red flag number one, anything you read online that says this filter media filters 1 million gallons of water, run away. Number two, I was at a house, Scott, in Thornton. Some plumber put in a three-stage filter system, called it salt-free water softener. That's fake. That doesn't exist. They're not real. Run away from that. Two, anybody knocking on your door that has this big test kit and wants to take 2 hours of your time, run away from that, because they don't know what they're doing. They're using the demo to sell the product. They're not sitting down and explaining to you factually what's in your water and how it can be treated. Mm-hmm. So again, no such thing as salt-free water softeners. Have your water tested for water hardness, because hard water affects how other filters operate. And the last thing you want to do is have something in there that thinks it's doing something, but it's not, because hard water can affect a filtration's operation.
Gotcha. Paul the Waterman, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, bud.
You too.
303-862-5554 is the number. It is Water Pros. Make sure when you call, you mention you heard Paul here on KLZ 560. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And leave it right here on KLZ 560 for more.
The views and opinions expressed on KLZ 560 are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Crawford Broadcasting, the station, management, employees, associates, or advertisers. KLZ 560 is a Crawford Broadcasting God and Country station.